You know, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, it's just how it is. Anyways, this is probably about a month ago. He walks into my work. He obviously didn't know I worked there. And he just was like, hey, like, how are you doing? And then he proceeds to, you know, get what he came there for and, you know, ask us questions and whatever. And at the end of it, he, you know, did the little, hey, girl, how you? And I'm like, okay. And then he asks for my Snapchat. Guess what? He already has it. He asks for my number. Guess what? He already has it. And the best thing about this whole thing is today he messages me, hey, haven't I seen you around before? Here's the motherfucking tea, part 2. So a couple years ago, I was friends with this girl for about 5 or 6 years, and of course we're not friends anymore. But she liked this guy who did not like her back, who actually ended up liking me. And me and this guy, we had never met before, so he had only seen pictures of me. We would video chat, things like that, but we still hadn't met before. And not to hate anybody who doesn't wear makeup or does wear makeup, I don't really care. But my friend would always be a natural face look, like she's still pretty. I don't really care. Anyway, since I had never met this kid before, my friend was always like, hey, I think you two should meet at like a water park or down by the river. And I'm like, okay, why? And she's like, well, I think it would be a lot of fun. And I look at her and I go, okay, but why? Well, because I don't really think you should be wearing makeup when you guys first meet. I think you should know what you really look like. And I'm like, bitch, I don't wear makeup to impress anybody else but myself. I'm sorry you think I look better than you, honey, but no. Here's the motherfucking tea. So I dated this guy, and by dated, I mean we were together, but we weren't. Anyway, so I did date this guy, and it was just me, him, and just a group of friends, and we would all hang out. It was really chill. It was fun. It was always a fun time. Anyway, so we dated for about a month or so, and I did decide to call quits because there was stuff that happened, but at the end of it, I just wasn't really feeling it, so I decided to call quits. So then he decides that he's interested in one of my friends, and they date for a few months, about 4 months or so. And at the end of it, when he broke up with her, aka he cheated on her, I found out from his friends that he actually dated her out of spite to get back at me. And my first thought was, are you kidding? And not only that, how we found out about it, disgusting. Also, this is a reusable straw. Please don't come at me. Here's the motherfucking tea. So I was with this boy, figures. Anyway, so I had known him for probably about a month or so, and, you know, I was introduced to his family, I got to know his friends, things like that. And so as I got to know him, I was really interested in all of his hobbies. He was really into cars, things like that. I was intrigued. But then after about a month or so, I really started to be myself and, you know, come out of my shell, and he did get a little bit judgmental, which, you know, everybody's allowed to have their own opinions and things like that, but it was really not somebody who I wanted to be with, so I called it quits. And then I think about a month later, I ended things. He goes, I know you don't want a relationship, but how do you feel about being friends with benefits? And I'm like, yeah? I said no. Here's the motherfucking tea. So I have a job, right? And every so often I like to go out and get lunch for myself because I'm too lazy to get my own food. Anyway, so I always go into the Subway, and there's this guy who works there at the Subway. And every single time I go in, which I think is probably once a week or every other week, he always hits on me. All the time. And he always asks me the same question. What's your name? Where do you work? Where do you go to school? You know, all that. So I finally bring my coworker with me to lunch, and he hits on both of us. And, you know, I'm like, yeah, put yourself out there. But he then asks for both of our Snapchats. And at this point, I'm like, okay. But before I can say anything, my coworker interjects and goes, no, sorry, I have a boyfriend. And so he turns over to me and he's like, so how about you? And I'm like, well, could I just have a cookie? Oops. And it turns out the two guys were talking about me. And B, for instance, this kid, legit was talking to his friend about me. And, you know, I'm not going to go into detail what they said, but like, oof. And it turns out the girl on the phone was B's girlfriend. And, you know, I don't care, you're a girlfriend, you can do whatever you want. Like, that's your boy, like, do whatever. But she calls me and she's like, so why did you FaceTime him? And I'm like, what? And she's like, well, there's a FaceTime call. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is not what I did. I don't like them. And she's like, well, there's a FaceTime call, and obviously they've been talking about you, so what's up? And I'm like, okay, this is what? And she's like, well, you're from New York, aren't you? And I'm like, nah, I'm from Washington State. I'm all the way across the country. I ain't trying to take no mans, okay? Okay. Here's the motherfucking tea. So I was talking to this guy for about a month or so, and this was about 2 or 3 years ago, I would say. And we finally had decided to go on a date. And on this date, we were supposed to go to the movies. So I get there, and about 15 minutes before the movie's supposed to start, I'm there by myself, just waiting. And I texted him, I'm like, hey, where are you? And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I got really drunk and wasted with my friends. I can come meet you if you want. And my first thought is, oh, no, honey, no. And little old me, being the person I am, is really sad and depressed. So you know what? I go into the movie theater all by myself, grab me some popcorn, sit down, and watch the movie. And guess what? It was a dog's purpose. But of course, you know, my friend came later after I talked to her and told her the whole thing, and she came and joined me, and we had a lot of fun. So, moral of the story is, here's a story time. How you thought? Anyway, so I have a job, right? And there was this one particular morning where I decided to call out. And so, you know, like I wasn't feeling good, but, you know, I called out because I just was like, I'm not really feeling work today. So, little old me, she goes out with her friend and her family, and they go out to dinner. And so we're sitting in this restaurant, and I'm like, you know, and we were about an hour late before we got seated, which is a whole other ordeal. But, you know, I wasn't fazed. And it turns out, as we're walking to our table, you'll never guess who I see sitting at the bar. My dear old boss. And at this point, I'm like, ooh, yikes. But, you know, casual me, I waved, I said hi. And the next morning, at work, he tells me, you know, if you really like that restaurant, you should try the Thai place down the street. Here's the motherfucking tea. Here's the motherfucking tea. So everybody has Snapchat, right? Well, I have Snapchat. And there's this one girl who has been mentioned in one of my previous videos. And she messages me on Snapchat, and she sends me a few tasteful pictures of herself and asks, which one do you like better? And I reply, well, honestly, I think you look really pretty in all of them. But honestly, I don't, And this girl, she's like, well, I really just want to know which one you prefer. And I'm like, okay, I guess the second one, since there were 3. So she's like, okay, great, thank you, I thought so too. And I'm like, okay, then why the heck did you ask? And then this girl proceeds to put that photo on her story. But the best part is, she scribbles out half of her face and half of the rest of her, which I'm like, what? Here's the motherfucking tea. So I wear glasses, right? And, you know, shout out to all my other glasses users. We stan a blind bitch. But the other day, I saw my friend just recently starting to wear glasses. And I was like, oh, they look really cute and adorable on her. They really suit her. So I asked her, are you nearsighted or farsighted? And I basically just wanted to know what her prescription was because she had never worn glasses before. But then the weirdest thing is, she tells me, oh, I don't actually need glasses. I just really like wearing them. And my first thought is, are you freaking kidding me? I need glasses to see. I need glasses for eyesight. And you're over here like, oh, I think they're really cute. And I'm like, okay, yeah, they can be, but like, glasses are not an accessory. They get dirty, they're inconvenient, and honestly, I don't like them on my face. here's the motherfucking tea. So this guy that I went to high school with, we never really talked, but, I have him on Snapchat, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, it's just how it is. Anyways, this is probably about a month ago. He walks into my work. He obviously didn't know I worked there, and he just was like, hey, like, how are you doing? And then he proceeds to, get what he came there for and, ask us questions and whatever. And at the end of it, he, did the little, hey, girl, how you? And I'm like, okay. And then he asks for my Snapchat. Guess what? He already has it. He asks for my number. Guess what?